So we begin the remembrance of Munich Day with these words. Honoured guests, ladies, gentlemen, children, employees and players of Manchester United, United supporters from across the UK and around the world, and football fans throughout the UK and across the globe. To those present here outside Old Trafford today, and those who join us via various media outlets in the UK and globally. On behalf of Manchester United, I welcome you all to this place where for many years the tragic events of the 6th of February 1958 have been remembered. We thank you all for joining us today. I'm Reverend John Boyers. I'm honoured to have served this club as their chaplain for over 26 years since the summer of 1992. And although now retired from that role, I've been asked again to lead the Munich Day memorial event on this, the 68th anniversary of the tragedy. So today, we all gather once more to recall and to reflect. We will remember with solemnity those killed through the tragic accident on that slushy Munich runway on a cold, grey afternoon in 1958. Yes, today is a solemn and serious remembrance of that tragic part of Manchester United's history. But we also want to reflect on what followed, how the club rebuilt itself to achieve European Cup success within 10 years, and how later new foundations were built to bring remarkable years of achievement to this club. We will reflect on how vision, energy, commitment, sacrifice and teamwork transformed this club, your club, and we will recall how despair turned to hope, and hope to achievement, and achievement to continuing development, wise and productive development. Out of the darkness came light, and out of sorrow came joy. They say the darkest hour is just before dawn. Remember that and be encouraged. We have many contributions this afternoon, and our first is from Andy Mitten, well known among United fans as a writer and broadcaster whose insights are valued and appreciated. Andy, can you please come to the platform and speak to us about some of your memories?
We've heard and read so much about the Munich Air Disaster over the years, and yet new stories still emerge. Only last week I got an email from a 94-year-old gentleman, Martin Gordon, to tell me the story of how his local priest had told him about the disaster in rural Ireland. The priest had said that the plane carrying the Manchester United team had been involved in a crash at Munich Airport, adding, "There are fatalities." Martin became a priest himself, but not before being inspired by Munich to start the Manchester Memorial Cup in Ireland. I didn't even know that existed until a week ago. People remember the tragedy in different ways. I think the key is that it is remembered, since it's such an important part of Manchester United's history. I was in Munich on the 60th anniversary, on a cold and bitter Tuesday in suburban Bavaria. Over 1,000 travelling Manchester United fans stood in silence around the tiny, snow-lined Manchester Platz. Distinguished speakers told the crowd that those players had never be forgotten. One of them was Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, legendary player, chairman of Bayern Munich no less. And he said a few things that I've never forgotten. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge said, "Manchester United became a reference point in my life as a footballer and as chairman of Bayern Munich. And Bayern are fantastic at remembering Munich. Real Madrid were fantastic. Let's not forget tiny Bishop Auckland as well, alongside the giants of Red Star Belgrade, Manchester City, Liverpool. That's enough compliments for those two for this afternoon. As Rummenigge so movingly put, Manchester United are more than wins, defeats, titles and lost trophies. Manchester United represents unconditional devotion, great joy and deep mourning. To this day, I am impressed by how the memory of those who were involved in the disaster is passed on and maintained by fans. They provide a wonderful example of how to honour those who are no longer with us by never forgetting them. Rummenigge had quite a nice line in humour as well. He reckoned that Manchester United were lucky in Camp Nou in 1999. That one obviously got laughed away. But he said something I'll never forget. We all know that relations between England and Germany were not at the best at the time of the crash. This was 13 years after the Second World War. But I have the impression that in the darkest days for Manchester United, the selfless support and sympathy offered by Munich, in particular the German doctors at the hospital, the residents, and also FC Bayern Munich, made an important social political contribution to restore those relations. And I think he was right. I went again for the 65th anniversary and met residents whose houses overlooked the Manchester Platz, like Michael Staff. And he makes United fans strangers to him. He makes everybody feel so welcome. He gives them care and attention. If you've not been to the Manchester Platz, and I realise it's difficult for some people, just do try and go. You know, I used to come here in the 90s, not every year, if I'm honest, and there were maybe a dozen people on this anniversary. I could name most of them. People like Cliff Butler, who was a servant for this club for a long time. And now look at the numbers. It is fantastic. It's wonderful that remembering Munich is a key part of Manchester United's fan culture, that so many people go to Munich every year and they're welcomed as they do. It's become a pilgrimage. I know of one fan, Graham Larkin, age 55. His funeral's today, about 3 miles over that way in Urmston. And he wanted to go to Munich before he died. And he wasn't alive at the time of the crash. And that really struck me as well. There's loads of Reds in Munich right now, singing, drinking, remembering. And just a few weeks ago in town, a lad come up to me, Chris. He said that his dad was John Roberts, the journalist who wrote The Team That Wouldn't Die. John also died last month. The greatest tribute to John is to read that book. It's really worth it. Manchester United's history is shaped by tragedy and triumph. And although we have basked in the glory, we have not been afraid to remember. Through the tragedy and through the triumph, we will keep the red flag flying high.
Thank you very much, Andy. In a moment, I will ask two members of our under-13 academy sides, Annie Marsh representing the girls and Harry Oliver Harper representing the boys, to come up here and read a poem written by Annie about the Munich tragedy from Sir Matt's viewpoint. Annie and Harry, can you come up, please?
As I woke up in my hospital bed, with memories of victory in my head, the nurse said, "Mr. Busby, there is something you must know. Your team's plane has crashed in the snow."
As I wallowed in sorrow and guilt by the team that we had built, memories of the victims of that horror will remain with us tomorrow. The loss of my babes, my boys, my friends, feels like the grief just never ends.
But as I walked through the valley of the theatre of dreams, I remembered that United is a family and a team. A loss of talent we cannot mend, but I realised it's a rebirth and not the end.
That's very good and deserves some applause. Annie and Harry, well done, thank you. We now come to the wreath laying. The men's team head coach, the women's team manager, captains of each of these teams, members of our under-13s boys and girls teams, and a representative of United fans will soon come up to be part of the wreath-laying ceremony. So we stand in respectful silence for the wreath-laying. First of all, Mark Skinner and Michael Carrick, please. Next, Mayor Letizier and Bruno Fernandez will place their wreath. Thank you. Next, Coco St. Val and Clay Rooney will place their wreath, representing the Academy under-13 teams, and indeed all the Academy staff and players. And finally, Duncan Drasdo, representing all United supporters, locally, nationally, and internationally, in his role as CEO of the Manchester United Supporters Trust. And we now continue in silence as we listen to the roll of honour, the reading of the names of all lost through that tragic air crash. It will be read by two more of our under-13 Academy scholars, Isla Croft and Leonardo Carter-Dennis. Leonardo and Isla, please come to the platform.
We remember the 8 journalists, Alf Clark, Don Davis, Sean Follows, Tom Jackson, Archie Ledbrook, Henry Rose, Eric Thompson and Frank Swift.
We remember others who died. Captain Kenneth Raymond, the co-pilot, Tommy Cable, one of the stewards, and Bella Miklos, the travel agent.
Yet as United fans, we particularly remember those who were part of our club staff. Walter Crickmer, club secretary, Bert Worley, chief coach, the trainer, Tom Curry, and Willie Santoff, a close friend and a supporter of United.
And especially, perhaps, we remember the 8 Busby babes, who so tragically died as a result of the Munich air crash on the 6th of February 1958. Jeff Bent, Roger Byrne, Eddie Coleman, Duncan Edwards, Mark Jones, David Pegg, Tommy Taylor, and Liam Billy Whelan.
Thank you very much, Leonardo and Isla. We now move towards our minute silence at 3:04. We remember together this desperate tragedy. Excuse me. We remember together this desperate tragedy in a minute's silence. But tragedy is not easy to explain. But there are some words in the book of Ecclesiastes, found in the Old Testament of the Bible, that I think are pertinent and helpful. The writer says, "The race is not to the swift, or the battle to the strong, nor does food come to the wise, or wealth to the brilliant, or favor to the learned, but time and chance happen to them all. Moreover, no one knows when his hour will come. As a fish is caught in a net, or birds are taken by a snare, so men are trapped by evil times that fall unexpectedly upon them." The writer is saying that we cannot easily explain or avoid disaster when it comes. It's the sort of world we live in. But later on in that same book, he says, however long you live, enjoy your life and remember your Creator before you get too old, and fear God and keep his commands. The same book of Scripture says something else for us. There is a time to weep and a time to laugh. There is a time to mourn and a time to dance. And we have gathered here on this wet, cold and rainy afternoon because this is a time to remember and to weep and to mourn. Shortly, we will stand for 1 minute in respectful silence to remember all of those who were lost as a result of the Munich air crash at 3:04 on the 6th of February 1958. I will bring that silence to a close with a few words ending with the phrase, "We will remember them." And after that, it would be good if we could all repeat together those 4 words. We will remember them. And the silence is fitting. A friend of mine called Tony must have been maybe 5 years old in 1958. He lived in Wythenshawe, and his mum took Tony to see the cortege of all the hearses bringing the coffins from the airport to here at Old Trafford. And Tony said, "My mum took me there, and I will never forget that moment. There were crowds of people, but it was not the number of people that impacted me. As a little boy, it was that number of people and the total silence, the sadness, the heaviness, as one after another, the hearses came by. So many people and so little noise." It is to parallel that respectful silence that was noted in many roads on the way to Old Trafford that we stand now. So let's stand in silence for 1 minute and remember. On Munich Day each year and through the years, we will remember them. Let's say together, we will remember them. Our next item involves Sammy McIlroy and Jason Leach. Sammy, the last Busby babe, I think. He's going to come and be interviewed. We spoke at the very beginning of light overcoming darkness, hope overcoming despair. Jason and Sammy will pick up that same theme as they talk about the rebuilding post-Munich of this club. Jason and Sammy, please come to the platform.
Sammy, we heard Andy Mitten talking before about a story over in Ireland. I'm going to take you back now to when you were a young kid in Belfast. How did you first hear about the Munich air crash?
Obviously, back home in Belfast, it was all over the papers, it was on television, radio, and also really at my school as well. We had a school teacher, PE teacher, who ran the football team, Mr. Norman. He was Manchester United daft, and he was the one that actually kept talking about it to the boys at the school. Because he loved United that much, he was absolutely heartbroken, and he gave us a day-to-day involvement what was going on.
After the crash, were you aware over in Ireland that Matt Busby was trying to rebuild a new team?
Well, again, Mr. Norman let everyone know about that. He actually wanted to be Bobby Charlton. You know, when we had games, football games at school, he was Bobby Charlton, give the ball to me. I'm Bobby Charlton. He was Bobby Charlton crazy, and he let us know exactly what was going on with the rebuild. And then in the early 60s, just after the 63 Cup final, which is the start of the rebuild for me, a certain fella called George Best came on the scene, and that's when I got really excited about the rebuild as well, because George lived not far from me back home, and what a magnificent player he turned out to be for the club, and what a fantastic lad. And again, that was great to see Bestie coming from Belfast and do what he did for the club.
Yeah. Speaking of Bestie, we all know about Bob Bishop, of course, and it was Bob who spotted you. How old were you when Bob spotted you?
Bob first seen me play for Mersey Street School, primary school it was, at 9 years of age. He watched every game I played for Mersey Street, and him and Mr. Norman used to talk after games about how I played and whatever. But Bob was a fantastic man, and when you think about George Best, who he brought to the club, Norman Whiteside, Jimmy Nicholl, David McCreary, just to mention a few. He was just football crazy and a fantastic man.
Yeah. So you're now signed for United, you're face to face with people like Matt, Jimmy Murphy, Bill Foulkes, Bobby Charlton. What is it like? Because these men have somehow, using spirit and bravery and courage, come through the tragedy. You're now playing with them, you're being coached by them. What was that like?
Well, actually, my first day as an apprentice, as we were called in those days, at 15 years of age, Sir Matt actually brought Sir Bobby down and introduced Bobby to all the apprentices, which was fantastic for me. And first day in training, after that, all the apprentices then joined in with the European Cup winning side and all the young pros and trained together, which for me was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I'm running alongside Bestie, Brian Kidd, Bobby, three people who scored in the European Cup final, and for me it was a dream come true, and days I'll never forget.
Yeah. Sammy, thank you for those memories.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sammy and Jason. As you return to your places, I want to invite Florence Thompson from the Manchester United Foundation to come to the platform and to bring another reading.
Hello everyone, My name is Florence. I am a 13-year-old student at Middleton Technology School, a partner of the Manchester United Foundation. I am here today to talk to you about how the legacy of the Busby Babes lives on to this day. For me, legacy means something that stays alive forever. The Busby Babes showed what young people can do by playing with courage, sticking together and believing in themselves. Even though their story ended too soon, their spirit is still here at Old Trafford today, 68 years later. This story has been passed down through my family. My granddad was just 10 years old when he heard the terrible news of the Munich Air Disaster. He was at home in his kitchen when a neighbour rushed in to tell his family what had happened. Ever since then, Munich has meant more than just history to us. It is something we remember and carry with us. As a young Mancunian and a girl who plays football myself, I have felt the support of the Manchester United Foundation. The foundation was created as a legacy to the Busby Babes, and it continues that legacy by supporting young people across Manchester and beyond to achieve their dreams, just as the club did with those players who we come here to honour. The foundation have helped me grow, given me confidence and made me believe in myself on and off the football pitch. Legacy is also about opening doors. As a passionate United fan, I am so proud to see fans in all areas of the club represented here today to commemorate what the Busby Babes stood for, including the women's team, who show that girls like me can dream big and be part of this story too. And what legacy do I want to leave? That football is for everyone and that we play with courage, unity and hope, just like the Busby Babes did.
Thank you very much, Florence. We have two more items before we come to the conclusion of our gathering today. The first of these is to invite Pete Martin to come to the platform and sing The Flowers of Manchester, and he'll encourage you to join in, I'm sure. Pete, can you come up?
Thank you. This is my 20th year of doing this. But when it started, I was just over there. There were no microphones, no people walking past. But even so, some people had started to join in. It'd be great if you did do. One cold and bitter Thursday in Munich, Germany. 8 great football stalwarts conceded victory. 8 men will never play again who met destruction there. The flowers of English football, the flowers of Manchester. Matt Busby's boys were flying, returning from Belgrade. This great united family are masters of their trade. The pilot of the aircraft, the skipper, Captain Thane. 3 times they tried to take off and twice turned back again. The 3rd time down the runway, disaster followed close. There was slush upon the runway and the aircraft never rose. It ploughed into the marshy ground, it broke, it overturned. And 8 of the team were killed as the blazing wreckage burned. Roger Byrne and Tommy Taylor, who were capped for England's side. And England's Billy Wheeler and England's Jeff Bent died. Mark Jones and Eddie Coleman and David Pegg also. They all lost their lives as it ploughed on through the snow. Big Duncan, he went to an injury to his frame. Johnny Berry and Jackie Blanchflower will never play again. The great Matt Busby lay there, the father of this team. 3 long months passed by before he saw his team again. The trainer, coach and secretary and a member of the crew. Also 8 sporting journalists who with United flew. And one of them was Big Swifty, who we shall never forget. The finest English keeper that ever graced the net. Oh, England's finest football team, its record truly great. Its proud success is mocked by a cruel turn of fate. 8 men will never play again who met destruction there. The pride of English football, the flowers of Manchester. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pete, not just for this afternoon, but for the 20 years you've come and reminded many supporters of the tragedy of Munich 58. Before we conclude, we want to remember other members of the United family whose passing we think about since we last gathered here on Munich Day last year. And I'm sure this is not a comprehensive list, but we've been told that Jimmy Nicholson, a Northern Irish midfielder who played 58 times for the Reds before spending 9 seasons at Huddersfield Town and another 3 at Bury, and who won 41 caps for his country. And many of you will remember Gary Mountfield, Money to his friends, talented bassist with Stone Roses and Primal Scream, and a massive Red. And some will remember Barmy Charlie Barlow, another huge Red, known for his flag making for all sports and clubs, but especially for his beloved United. And not long ago, we heard that Jimmy Murphy Jr., the son of Sir Matt's assistant manager and coach, Jimmy Jr. was a regular at Old Trafford and at Carrington, watching under-18s and under-21s and the first team, and annually used to come here and be part of the supporters who remembered Munich 58. And you may remember others, players, staff, fellow supporters, the guys you sat next to at Old Trafford, members perhaps of your own family, your own friends. Let's just bow our heads in silence and give thanks to God for them. So we close our Munich Day remembrance with a brief prayer and a blessing and some words of thanks. A prayer. Gracious God, we thank you for the contributions made to the life and history of our club by so many people. And today we remember those who are no longer with us. Some are very famous. Some are only known to us personally. And many of us also know the pain of bereavement from the loss of family and friends. Help us all to find light in the darkness that grief can bring. Help us to find hope in our despair. Amen. And a closing blessing. May the Lord bless you, and may the Lord keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you. May he be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. Amen. And a word of thanks. A sincere thank you to all who have been involved in this commemoration. We thank you for your preparations, your contributions, and particularly your presence here this afternoon. You are invited to join us in the International Suite in the Stretford End for tea, coffee, and a biscuit. And the first one there gets the biscuit, okay? And there you can share stories and memories. And we look forward to seeing you there. And whether you have to leave later or whether you have to leave now, we hope that you have a good and safe journey home. And I pray that God may bless you all. Thank you for coming.